Good morning. Today is Sunday, January 26th, 2025. Baruch Hashem, thank God. 4 of our hostages were released yesterday. They were all walking and smiling. Of course, we have to keep in mind it may be a long time, and perhaps never, till we learn the details of what they suffered and how they are affected. But I learned 3 things from the news last night that are incredibly inspiring and fill me with both pride and hope that I'd like to share with you this morning. Back in November 2023, when the first large group of hostages, not large enough, but large group of hostages were released, it was noticed that among the women, many of the women had their hair braided. And among the 7 women who were released, 4 yesterday and 3 last Sunday, they also had their hair braided, and people commented on that. And it turns out, from the testimonies of the released hostages, that this is the work of Agam Berger. Agam Berger is a 20-year-old IDF soldier, a chayalat. She was an observer at the Nachal Oz base. You know, on October 7th was overrun, and so much killing and hostage-taking and etc. took place there. So Agam Berger was taken captive on October 7th, and she's still in Gaza. And Agam Berger has become a symbol of strength for those still held hostage in Gaza. She is a woman with quiet strength, politeness, and unbreakable spirit in Gaza. Her mother, Meirav Berger, told the Israeli News, Agam braided the hair of the girls she knew were being released, even though she had to stay behind. It was her way of sending them off with love and strength. And these braids have come to represent a silent reminder that the ones still captive have not been forgotten and still dream of being released, and we certainly continue to pray for their release. One news report described these braids as a touching and silent farewell, a way of holding on to hope. Agam was kidnapped from the Nachal Oz base on October 7, 2023, along with 4 female soldiers. These are the 4 who were released yesterday. Also, as I said, with their hair in braids. But Agam Berger has been a source of strength and comfort to others. One of the released hostages told the media, Agam braided our hair before we left. It felt like she was giving us a piece of her strength to carry with us. Now, there have been other reports concerning this incredible young woman, Agam Berger. It's also been reported that Agam Berger, in the horrors of the cruelty of Hamas, imprisonment, that she has kept, to the extent that it is humanly possible, her religious lifestyle. Media reported that one time the Hamas kidnappers ordered her to cook food, but it was Shabbos. And she refused. Can only imagine what could have happened to her just for refusing to do that. But she refused. And another former hostage who was with her for a time said that Agam, she davened every day, she prayed, she made a bracha before eating every food. She tried as best as she could to observe Shabbat. Her parents have, of course, worked tirelessly to try to bring her home. And they say Agam always knew how to give to others. Even now, she shows strength in what she is doing. Agam Berger, an incredible young person under the most difficult circumstances. May she be released soon and return to her family in good health. Another incredible story came out about Emily Damiri, who was released last Sunday. When she was told, of course, without much prior warning, she was told that she was being released, she said no. She said, I want Keith Siegel to be released in my place. Keith Siegel is an older hostage, apparently in not as good health condition, although hopefully with God's help he will come out healthy. And she said, let Keith go instead of me. Keith Siegel and his wife Aviva were abducted by Hamas on October 7th from Kibbutz Kfar Aza. They were driven into Gaza by their own car, which Hamas stole. Keith's wife Aviva was released in November 2023 with the first hostage deal. And since then, Aviva has repeatedly spoken out against the ordeal they suffered in the tunnels. And remember, they were, I'm not in any way minimizing, but they were captives for 50-something days. And she told how the terrorists broke Keith's ribs. She described how the Hamas terrorists starved them, deprived them of water. They were so mean and brutal, eating in front of us and starving us. They didn't give us any water. And that's just for the 50 days. Who could imagine what the conditions are like for more than 470 days? Of course, the terrorists did not listen to Emily. She was released. But may Keith be released soon and return to his family in good health. But imagine the strength and the goodness of Emily to, at the moment of her freedom after over 470 days, to ask that someone else be released instead of her. Last week I shared Rabbi Yosef Rimon's explanation of both the joy and anger at once. Joy at the release and return of captives, anger and worry at the release of prisoners, including terrorists and murderers. Last week, Rachel Goldberg-Polin expressed a similar idea in a very different and eloquent way. And I want to share this with you because I think it's just remarkable. So she was speaking last week, she was writing last week, she wrote this, about the events of last Sunday, which of course, obviously, she followed very carefully. And for me personally, it is at this moment when I understand how multifaceted and diverse the human psyche God bestowed upon us is. We possess such robust, limber, and flexible spirits. When I was 8 years old, Rachel says, I took a juggling class. When I didn't master that art right away, I thought I just didn't have what it took to become a talented juggler. But now I understand that is exactly what I am. I could join a circus. But I'm not unique. It is what we all are. We humans are capable of juggling the elation of seeing families reunited. And we can feel crushed and broken for the families for whom the end is not as rosy. And then we can wonder what is for dinner. We can do this all at the same time. Welcome to being human. My emotions, she writes, are acrobatic. I can contort and adapt. I'm filled with vicarious joy watching the news of the release of the hostages, while also holding excruciating, ever-present pain from the recent hacking out of part of my heart. As many know, we've discussed, my eldest child and only son Hirsch was stolen on October 7th. And although he valiantly kept himself alive in torturous conditions without his dominant arm, he was savagely executed in a tunnel in Gaza at the end of August, along with 5 other beautiful young holy souls, Ori, Alex, Almog, Eden, and Carmel. I'm in the process of trying to figure out how not just to live, but eventually how to thrive while missing a piece of my heart. But I will do it. And our whole nation will do it. There is no other way. So please join me to acknowledge God for yesterday's events, to say the bracha shehecheyanu for the joyous return of 4 women, chayalot, returned to their homes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. And also to acknowledge and to recognize the terrible, terrible outcome that yesterday approximately 200 prisoners were released, prisoners who have promised to attack Israelis again, who include murderers and terrorists. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam dayan ha'emes. Blessed are you, God, who is the true judge. May we continue to recite joyous blessings until all our captives are home. But I want to add one last coda to yesterday's news. 2 women were speaking. 2 young women who know these 4 who were released yesterday. And one spoke to her friend named Hadar, and Hadar told her that her heart is bursting with joy that Liri, Naomi, Daniela, and Karina are coming home. Bursting with joy. But she said, especially today, it's important to remember those who fought for their lives, who fought for the lives of those 4 in Nachal Oz, in particular Sergeant Eden Nimeri, a blessed Remei. On the 7th of October, 2023, Eden is an officer, and she replaced an officer at Nachal Oz at this military facility that was an observer outpost. Remember, it was Yom Tov, it was a holiday. It was Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah. And so Eden was a replacement. She didn't know anyone there. And then early in the morning, Hamas attacked. And if you remember some of the details, the soldiers were surprised and quickly overwhelmed. And there were a number of soldiers who were in a barracks. They didn't have a way to defend themselves. Eden Nimeri understood. She didn't know any of these girls, but she understood that if she could attract fire to herself, leading away from where the other women were hiding, that the other women would be able to flee and escape. And she was right. So she was firing her weapon at the terrorists. Of course, they were about to overwhelm her, and as she was firing at them, she led them away from the barracks where these other women were. And she was killed. And because of her valor, because of her sacrifice, 11 soldiers managed to escape. 7 of them were kidnapped. 4 of those kidnapped were returned to Israel yesterday. All of that hope happened only because of the heroism, the sacrifice, the quick thinking under fire of Eden Nimeri of blessed memory. She will forever be a hero. My friends, I wish you a good day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.